On this week's show, how to find great HMO investment properties.
In the news, the eviction ban has been extended again and again, so bailiffs can no longer come to your door.
And we're going to be answering all your property related questions.
Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends.
Hey, I'm Russell Leeds.
Hey, I'm Alistair Cunningham.
And welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. You may notice in front of us that we have Starbucks cups, and you may notice that mine is considerably smaller than Alistairs.
Mine is bigger than his.
So, yeah, well, what happened was, he came in this morning, he's like, oh, I got you a coffee. I was like, oh, great, thanks. And he goes, here you go. And he was like, I don't know what happened with the sizes. Don't know what happened with the sizes. I'm thinking, they normally give you what you fucking ordered, don't they?
They normally do.
So what happened with the sizes? So my theory is, he did it purely so that he could say, like you've already said, mine's bigger than yours on the show.
Mine's bigger than yours. So
what happened, Rick?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say Alistair likes to take credit for everything. I got the coffees, guys. You're welcome, Russell.
He did actually.
Yeah.
He did actually. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So you're the one that gave me a small coffee?
No, I paid for it. Alistair ordered it, and when he ordered it, he said, hello, can I get one large skinny latte, sugar-free vanilla? Yep. One large skinny caramel latte? Yep. And then he looked at me and he goes, and smiled, and one small latte for my friend Russell.
That's not true.
I believe
That is true.
Yeah, it is. Let me ask you something, guys. If you're watching this on YouTube, drop in the comments. What's your favourite, Starbucks or Costa? It's an age-old argument. What's your favourite?
It doesn't even
Starbucks by
Costa's not even my second favourite.
No,
I'd rather get to Cafe Nero or Costa's my worst.
Pret's nice.
I like Pret.
Yeah, I like
Pret's
Pret
organic as well.
Yeah,
Actually, when we worked, do you remember the days?
Yes.
When we worked in London, like
Yes.
centrally, and we'd go to the office every
You just
day.
go around like Pret around the corner.
I had a choice, Pret, and I actually
Yeah.
ended up choosing Pret over
Yeah.
Starbucks. So I think Pret is actually my favourite.
Okay, so what's your favourite? Starbucks, Costa, Pret, or Cafe Nero?
No.
Let us know in the comments, because it's honestly nothing to do with property, but we all love coffee.
Well,
so
yeah, you say that, but how often do you get coffees when you're on viewings?
every day.
You've been on viewings quite. I think I've got a theory that you are going on viewings purely as a day out. This is the only thing that you're allowed to do. I think you're like, hey Rick, got nothing to do at all. Should we go for a couple of days of viewings?
Just go and spend some time viewing houses.
Should we go to the south of France for a few viewings?
Good idea. Now, in fairness, I have been doing lots of viewings recently. Spent a couple of days, like 2 weeks ago, I
Are you
spent 3
staying away? Are you
days.
staying away?
Yeah.
So you're going on holiday?
Basically, yeah, going
on
on holiday to Hull. Like,
Okay, well.
it's a bit grim, but yeah, off to the seaside, at Grimsby, and then off to Hull for the weekend. So, I've been doing
the clue is in the name.
yeah, grim, yeah. I've been doing lots of viewings recently. Got one property off the back of it, but there was nothing. Last week we looked at a couple, and there was nothing really coming off the back of it. Didn't materialise into much. I'll tell you why, because.
We weren't really viewing properties, you were really on holiday.
Yeah, no.
Honestly, 3 weeks of viewings in Dubai, haven't found a single thing.
Haven't found a single thing. The viewings last week, were a bit. They were good deals, but the people that were buying them were just putting in stupid offers.
Hold on. Weren't you two the ones buying them?
Yeah, but we were buying them.
The property deals. The property deals were amazing. People that are buying them, idiots.
No. What I mean is the other people that were viewing them as well, and they got offers that were higher than the asking prices, and it was just ridiculous. And I know it's a problem that everyone's coming up against. I mean, I get that. But we did find 2 potentials off the back of it, but they're auction properties, so they're going to be going through auction very, very soon. And I'll keep you updated on that.
I bid at auction last week.
I know. How did that go?
I lost.
Yeah, you lost. Yeah. Loser. But yeah, no, it's
what?
good.
That's
it's
the
good.
thing, though. Actually, that is the wording of it is you lost. I didn't lose. I just didn't buy it.
You just didn't win. So if you didn't win, what did you do?
Yeah, but the win is the wrong word, because that kind of language is what makes people that are competitive, that want to win.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I want to bid more. What I actually.
So let me ask you this: you play football, okay?
Yeah.
So if you
that is a sport though, so that is a win-lose.
if you
Wait, what?
score
You play
more
football?
goals than the other team and they win, does that mean you lose?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same as an auction. So you didn't win the house, so you lost.
No, I didn't buy the house.
Russell sounds like someone that loses a lot, and he's made up this whole excuse that he's planned out. So every time he loses, he can roll out this excuse.
Is that what your psychologist told you to do?
Do you know what? He didn't. There isn't a psychologist. No, do you know what though? The whole language that we're talking about now. Do you know we talk about how auctions?
I get what you're saying. I get it.
Auctions are dangerous places to go
Very
because
dangerous.
of the win-lose mentality. When you
Yeah.
go to buy a normal house, did you buy those houses last week?
No, I didn't know. I agree with I agree. I do agree with
Did someone win? Did someone win more than you? Do you know that? You play football. Do you know when you go kart racing? Did someone finish above you?
Yeah, it means I'm second loser. It means I'm first. Sorry, if I come second when I'm kart racing, it means I'm first loser. That's all it means.
Well, luckily you're first loser with these properties, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I don't mind. But
Do you know what I mean? It's not a win-lose. That I won actually because I stuck to my guns.
I do get the whole mentality. I 100% get that. We've just run Friday, Saturday. We've just run the Buy, Refurbished, Refinance Masterclass in this very studio, and we were streaming that round the world. We had somebody from Russia tuning in. There was somebody from South Africa tuning in as well, and we had it streamed live around the world. And that was all about finding Buy, Refurbished, Refinance projects, finding the lead, qualifying the lead, and then going ahead and doing the refurb and then exiting the lead. And one of the things we talked about a lot is auction properties, because auctions are proven quite useful for buying properties at the minute. And what we're seeing more and more and more of is the modern method of auction. Estate agents are opting for that way of selling due to COVID, due to the current situation where they're restricted on viewings and they're restricted on getting that many people in the house. So they're opting for the modern method of auction. So yeah, it's a great way to buy properties, but yeah, you are in that mentality of bidding as opposed to there's my offer, take it or leave it.
It becomes competitive, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, and you've got to be like you guys are. You've got to be very much controlled with regards to that's my price I can pay, and I'm not going to go above that.
Yeah, I agree. On better news, we're buying one this week that we did win on.
Yeah. Yay, winners. Winner.
So yeah, which is the land in Leeds.
Yeah.
That's got to complete by Friday. So that's good.
Good stuff. So that's how many years will that take to sort of finalise and get over the line and obviously build on?
18 months.
Yeah, a year and a half, something like that. Okay. That's the thing with developments, it's not a quick earner. It's big earner, but it's not a quick earner. And often I get people that are new to property messaging me, and they want to get straight into development, but they don't do the sort of groundwork and the foundational work first, where they start off with something small, but they try and go straight for development. And if you look at like yourself and Samuel and Ben Mack and that, well, Ben Mack's been doing development for 30 years, but you guys have only really in the last 2 or 3 years got into development. You started off with the foundational stuff, residential, 3-4 bedroom houses, doing that, and then slowly building up to the bigger stuff. And I think that's by far the safest way to do this. If you're brand new to property, development shouldn't even be on your horizon, in my opinion, at the minute, until you've got a little bit of experience with the smaller end stuff.
I agree. Also, like you say, the stuff that you're doing now, so all the deals we're working on now, they're not going to pay us for...
Yeah, maybe 2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
Realistically, maybe 2 years by the time... But even if it takes 18 months to complete, you might not even start it for another 2 or 3 months, and then you're 18 months, and then you've got to sell them and get the money in. So you could be 2.5 years. It's a long-term investment. So anyway, how to find good HMOs? That's the topic of this week's show.
It is indeed. So first of all, we'll go to our normal, typical style. You've got 30 seconds to sum up what a HMO is.
HMO?
Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, this has got to be dictionary definition.
Wow, I don't know dictionary definition. I can tell you my definition. Well, HMO.
The Alistair dictionary definition.
Okay. HMO is a house of multiple occupation. So it's where you've got occupants from 2 or more families living in that same property, sometimes with shared amenities, sometimes with private amenities, typically an ensuite. But they generally share all the kitchen, etc., and they generally pay one bill, which is the rent on a monthly basis, and all the bills are included. That's pretty much, in my opinion, of what HMO is.
In 26 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cool. Yeah. So obviously you've nicely explained what a HMO is.
Yeah.
Why would someone? What are the pros of a HMO over a single let? So if you're an investor, why would you go for a HMO over just renting out a single let?
HMOs, depending on location, can provide a much higher return on investment in the sense of they can give you higher cash flow. If you take a typical 3 or 4 bedroom property, okay, you might rent that out. Let's say it's in Leeds. You might rent that out for maybe $750, $850 a month. I don't know the exact market value for a single let in Leeds, but let's just assume be $750, $850 a month, which is fairly average. Okay, for a 4 bedroom property. Now you have that same 4 bedroom property, but have 4 separate bedrooms and put fire doors on there and stick some fire alarm systems in there and get some other regulational items put in there. You could rent them out room by room, and you could rent the rooms out for £350 to £400 per month per room. So you get a much higher return on investment, a much higher cash flow. So instead of getting the $850 for the whole house, you're getting $300 to $400, depending on what the market dictates in that area, per room. So on that case, you could get up to £1,400-1,500 a month for the same property. Now you do have some additional costs to bear, such as you would pay the bills, so you would pay the utilities, the council tax, you would pay the Wi-Fi and insurances and things like that. So that does come off your top line. It's just so you've got some additional costs. So you will generally make a little bit more money. But on the downside to that, they're a little bit more expensive to set up. You do have a higher turnover of tenants because tenants generally stay for 1 to 2 terms. So a term is 6 months on an AST contract. So they would stay probably 1 AST contract or 2 AST contracts. So you do have to manage the property closer. You have to manage it much closer actually. So management costs are higher. You have to then find tenants more regular. You have to ensure that tenants are getting on because you've got 4 different people, 4 different backgrounds living in the same property, and sometimes if they're not sort of matched, it can cause tension and animosity inside the properties, and it just again management side of things. But I love HMOs. Additional cash flow. If you manage the tenants right and if you qualify the tenants right, you generally won't have that many problems. I'm not saying you won't have any, but you won't have that many problems. So yeah, that's my take on HMO.
I'd say one of the keys is that you get a good HMO management company.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that entirely.
All right, so if you're going to find a good HMO, if you started from scratch, let's go through the stages of what you do. So I would say, first of all, thing that you want to be looking for is you want to be looking for an area that's got a good demand for HMOs.
Yep. So when we run a program called the Deal Finding Extravaganza, and on that program we do a thing called priming. So we prime your area, and what we mean by that is irrespective of what strategy you're doing, okay, whether it be single let, HMO, service accommodation, whatever, right? You have to prime your area. So the first P, so P for prime, the first P is patch. You need to find your area for a start. You need to understand your chosen area. First thing you've got to do is identify where that may be. So let's say we've got somebody watching this who lives in Portsmouth. Now you need to decide whether or not you're going to manage or manage property yourself or get a management company to do it. What's your preferred route? Manage yourself or get somebody to do it for you?
My preferred route is kind of both actually. So I always think when you're starting anything new like this, it's quite good to manage it yourself. Listen, it depends on your situation.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
But if you're full time in property, if you're busy and working on investment, then I would definitely get a manager in place. However, if you're not, I would certainly be involved in the managing it of yourself. To begin with, just to make sure it's being done right, and also to give you an idea of what's actually involved with the management, so you're aware of how it all works. So if I was first starting out, I'd probably do that. If it was me now, I've managed hundreds of. I had like a rent-to-rent type business with HMOs. I had 100 rooms. So I've managed hundreds of HMOs over the time. So I would definitely not. I would be looking around at managers, having a chat with them, and finding someone who I thought. I went to Liverpool last week. We were chatting to a few different HMO managers. One of them, I was thinking, wow, I actually think. I mean, hey, you never know for sure. Proof of the pudding's in the eating. But from speaking to them, I was thinking what they were telling me. I was hearing all the right things. I was thinking they actually sound better than what I was doing when I was managing it. You know. So, but
HMO management is an art, I'm telling you now. So it's definitely an art. You've got to find a good one and utilise them. So one of the first things you need to do is you need to decide whereabouts in the country that you're going to invest, okay? And that's the same for all strategy, okay? Find your patch, right? Understand it. The second thing is you need to understand, this is purely for HMO, you need to understand what the rules are for that area.
Yeah.
So what are the local rules, regulations for HMOs in your chosen patch? Now, for instance, when I first started in property, I chose to use Hull as my patch. Hull was my go-to area. So the first thing I done was I actually went up to Hull and I started driving around. I got a feel of where the nice areas were, where the bad areas were, and I started looking on spare room at other HMO properties in the area. And I would then drive to them and have a look around them. Not inside, but just have a look around the area and see what sort of why they were working and why they weren't working, and get a feel for how far they were from the city centre. Was there good public transport nearby? Was there car parking, etc., etc. And then I also arranged to meet the local HMO officer from the council and just pick their brains and sort of understand the rules and the regulations for said area. Now, you should be doing this for your area. So if you live in Portsmouth and you're going to make your area Sheffield, you need to go to Sheffield, understand Sheffield, understand where HMOs work, understand the rules, understand what is it that will stop you running this property? What permissions do you need from the council to run a successful HMO? And what hoops do you have to jump through to get that done? The next thing is when you're looking for a good HMO, and we'll give you some tips on how you can find a good HMO in a minute, but then the next thing is you need to actually start getting inside some properties and making sure the property that you're finding is suitable for a HMO. Because it's not just like buy a single let, throw a bed in it, and then hope for the best. There's a lot of regulations you have to comply with, which you'll find out when you do your rules research, such as minimum room size, minimum communal area sizes, minimum kitchen sizes, how many fire doors you need, what's the legalities of the fire alarm system, the windows, things like that have to be windows that open all the way as opposed to just open to 90 degrees. They have to open all the way. So
room sizes.
Yeah.
There's lots of things. The amount of people that come to me and go, I've bought this for, and you're like, oh, it's
basic, isn't it?
Or oh, that room is too small to rent out. So what you thought was going to be a 4-bedroom HMO is going to be a 3.
And do you know where I see people from that? I generally see London investors doing that. I generally see people in London. They buy up north because they've got money or whatever. They've got houses in London with equity, or they've refinanced or whatever, and then they've got a couple £100,000 available, and then they go up north and they see all these HMOs for £100,000, and they're like, £100,000? That's ridiculous. So they buy it without thinking about the rules, okay? And then they'll send a manager in there to assess it, and they'll say, well, yeah, but that bedroom 3 is too small because it's only 60 square feet. The bathroom's there's not enough bathrooms in the space. The kitchen's not got enough workspace units, etc., etc. And as a result, they end up having to spend more money altering the property to make suitable for HMO guidelines. So I think it's really important to understand the rules of your area. Room size is a big one. Now, typically, this is not for every county, but typically the room size is 70 square feet for a single occupancy and 100 square feet for a double occupancy. Okay, but there's other rules regarding room size, okay, with regards to how many people are in the property, the size of the communal areas, etc., etc. But on the basis of single occupancy, double occupancy, 70 square feet, 100 square feet. Obviously, check with your local authority.
Yeah.
Now, what happens is you get these investors from down south, and some of the houses in London, they're tiny. Some of the bedrooms are tiny, so they think that's acceptable, and they just go out and buy something because it appears to them cheap.
But you got to remember, 70 square foot, I always felt like was
tiny.
Considering that this is their living space as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if it was like a box room in a house, you kind of go, okay, you're going to stick a 5-year-old in there.
In a small bed.
And then they'll have a playroom downstairs or whatever.
Yeah.
But considering it's their living space, I always felt when I was going around, if it was you could just feel it just felt wrong anyway.
Yeah, like a 70 square foot bedroom, right? You'll typically get a single bed, a set of wardrobes, a set of drawers, side table, maybe a mirror, and you'll have a little bit of floor space around about.
Not a lot.
Not a lot, a little bit.
Not
You'll have a little
very
bit,
little bit,
okay, a little
but-
bit. It's not loads, okay? So you want to try and be making the rooms as reasonable sized as possible. All my properties that I do for HMO, one of the key criteria is all the bedrooms have to be a minimum of 90 square feet. So I go 20 square feet above. Now I know some people will say, well, you're wasting floor space there because you could get probably another bedroom in there, right? But to me, I would rather have slightly bigger rooms, have happier tenants, charge a little bit more per room, and I'm not cramming people in, okay? One of the properties I'm doing at the minute, all the rooms are 95 square feet or above. The kitchen's got it's going to have 2 cooking stations, it's going to have 2 washing stations, 2 double fridge freezers, and there's plenty of space in there for the tenants to actually live and enjoy living there.
Here's an interesting debate. This could potentially be a whole show its own, or maybe not. Maybe we'll just be.
Can I just finish Prime before you come up and do that?
No.
Well, I'm going to. Okay. After you make sure the property is suitable, okay, it's got to be suitable. You need to understand the market, all right? So M is market. Understand the market for the area. Is there supply and is there demand? Because if you're going to somewhere where there's a massive, massive oversupply and a very much under demand, then you're never going to make any money, okay? This happened in Grimsby a few years back, okay? What happened was everyone went to Grimsby because houses were cheap and there was a demand for HMO. And then suddenly, you've got too many HMOs, not enough people looking for HMOs, and then you've got HMO rooms getting or HMO properties getting converted back to single let because they couldn't rent them out. And now it's turned back around in Grimsby because there's a new wind farm being put out there, and there's thousands of people now moving to the area. So there's a demand for rooms in Grimsby again. But my point being, you've got to understand the market, and you also got to understand the market price for a high quality room in the area. And then finally, the E of Prime is how do you exchange on it? And what I mean by that is if you're a first time buyer, you're unlikely going to be able to get a mortgage on a HMO as a first time purchase. So you'll have to start with a single let. You just will. So find a 50, 60 grand, buy low, rent high type property, rent it out, get 6 to 12 months of landlord experience, and then go for a HMO. The other way is get a mortgage host. Find somebody who's got more experience with being a landlord than you have, and ask them to host you and be a mortgage with you. Interesting conversation all day. I was speaking to a mortgage broker. You know, rent to rent and lease options. If you make a rent to rent or a lease option into a HMO, do you know mortgage lenders don't class that as experience? So you could have a rent to rent HMO, have it for 5 years. So you've got 5 years worth of experience of being a landlord dealing with tenants, but you've still got no landlord experience in the eyes of the mortgage lender because you don't own the asset. All you're doing is you're managing it. You're not actually a landlord who's got the financial risk. So the mortgage lenders still don't see you as having experience, and then still I'm not saying you won't get a mortgage for it, but you're very much limited to who will lend a HMO mortgage for you. So again, patch, understand, find your patch, rules, get out there.
I don't know the answer to
understand the
this
rules.
because I've never done it. I assume it would be okay. But if you bought a property to be a HMO as your first property,
Yeah,
and you thought, what I'll do is I'll rent it out for a couple of years,
as a single
a
let.
single let, and then change it to a HMO.
Yeah.
You could do that, couldn't you?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
So
You could still buy the property with the idea that in a year's time you're going to do it as a HMO. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, that's mine. So what were you going to say? You were going to say, interestingly, you didn't know the answer.
What I was going to say was, one of the things I was chatting to this HMO manager about the other day, and this was about sort of amenities and stuff. So, you know, when they first came on the scene, people weren't bothered about en-suites.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
Whereas now, I think that they are.
I think very much so. Yeah.
Especially with things like COVID and everyone wanting their own personal space and everything. So I think that en-suites are big. But I was never a fan. I'm interested to get your take on this. I was never a fan of the communal areas.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I was like, I was looking at a property with this guy, and he was like, I'd make it a 3-bed. And I said, to be honest, why? They're all 100 square feet, all the rooms. Would it not be better just to scrap the communal area and make it a 4-bed?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh no, he was like, I think the communal areas are key. And I was like, I personally hate the communal areas because that's where all the arguments come. Like if I could put them in studio flats, like that'd be better.
Yeah.
I think.
Do you know, I do tend to agree with that a little bit. Okay, I'm not against communal areas, but I agree with you. That's where a lot of the problems will occur.
That's kind of my thinking.
Because there's no responsibility for who's tidying up. A big argument you'll see in HMOs is who's responsible for doing the dishes, who's responsible for tidying up, who's responsible for wiping that floor up that somebody's spilt something on. Now, you would think they're all adults, that if they spill something, they'll clean it up. Listen, that's just not the case. I see so many problems in HMOs with regards to cleanliness. So my problem is what I do.
It was his argument back. So I agree with you. Right, this was his argument. He said, and this is what I thought. Wow, maybe they're just awesome managers. He was like, well, what we do is we like to put people in a property who are the same age group and similar background. And what we find, and we have a whole community, so we like play football together. We've got, and we find that they stay much longer when they get on with the other tenants. They become like mates. We've even had, he said, marriages come from it. Tenants that have got married, and we invited us to the wedding, and we've got this community. And I was thinking,
it does make sense.
It's not what I had when I was managing.
No, but maybe it's that more hands-on management. And again, when you start dealing with more professional people, then they get on better. Okay, so just to clarify, I'm not saying working class are bad, all right? And don't think I am. I'm not saying that. I'm telling you from my experience of when I've had tenants like that from factories and Hull and places like that, I've generally had problems throughout arguments, etc., etc. And when I've had doctors in there, I've not had problems. That's my experience. Take it or leave it.
So just be careful when you're choosing your area or choosing your... Again, it comes back to your... Do you know what I actually would say? Because when it comes to HMOs, and obviously we've skimmed through... it's a podcast. We've got like 30 minutes. We've not gone into detail. But... there is so much to picking the right area, making sure that you're how to attract the right tenants, how to decorate, whether it's Article 4, whether you need to apply for a licence. There's so much to it. And you mentioned earlier that we do cover it in detail, the deal finding extravaganza and the Future Money Again programme. Now, what I would say is, if you're a Samuel 365 member, you can get access to this programme for free. Now, if you're not a Samuel 365 member, you can sign up for a £1 trial where you can get access to this programme for free. So I'll very, very quickly tell you a little bit about Samuel 365. We'll drop a link below. So Samuel 365 is an online platform. Alistairs is one of the mentors on there. Samuel's one of the mentors. Ricky's one of the mentors. I'm one of the mentors. So if you want to get trained, mentored, coached by us, you can sign up for a £1 trial. And after that, it's only £95 a month. Very, very quick to tell you what you get. You get access to training programs. You get the deal finding extravaganza. You get the property investors crash course. A few different training programs in detail that will help you so much when you're getting started in property, especially with HMOs, rent-to-rent, service accommodation, all that sort of stuff. But you also get a weekly coaching call with Samuel and Alistair. And as well as that, you get unlimited mentoring where you can phone one of our mentors, one of our certified mentors. I'm a mentor, you're a mentor, Ricky's a mentor. Anytime, as many times as you want. So you just go on, you book a call, you ring them, you can speak to them, get help, get advice, and that is unlimited as well. So I'd highly recommend signing up for that. It's £1 for a trial. If you like it, stick on £95 a month. But I personally think it's the best value property training.
I was just going to say, the absolute value in that is ridiculous, because where else can you get access to somebody, to a mentor? And there's not just us, there's lots of mentors. There's about 8 or 9 now, and they're all walking the walk. They're all people that are out there doing it now. There's the same things that you guys want to do, and you've got access to them 365 days a year.
We were even doing it on Christmas Day.
We did. We done calls on Christmas Day. It's ridiculous. There was a review left on Trustpilot just the other day from Grazelia saying that she had a call with Dave Taylor on Christmas Day.
And Tony, we had a few different mentors doing it.
It was wow, it's crazy. So where else can you get access to people that are walking the walk and can advise you on your purchases, your deals, how you can get started in the business for just £95 a month? I think it's utterly ludicrous. I think it should be 5 times that price. Because I've paid 5 times that price to have access to a business coach, for instance. Where you can ring them up and ask advice, and they charge 5-6 times that much per month.
But whether you're going to stay on or not, sign up for £1 and do this training.
Do the DFE.
If you want to get onto HMOs, it's all about how to find your patch to get started. So I just thought I'd quickly mention that, guys. Amazing value. Make sure you sign up. Right, it's now time for this. So in the news this week, we are talking about how the Housing Secretary has extended support for renters during the pandemic. This press release actually came out on the 14th of February, but I just thought we'd share it with you guys now. So renters will continue to be supported during the ongoing national lockdown with an extension to the ban on bailiff evictions, Housing Secretary Robert Jenrick announced today. The ban on bailiff evictions, which was introduced at the start of the pandemic, has been extended for another 6 weeks until the 31st of March, with measures kept under review to be in line with the latest public health advice. So basically they're extending it, but they've also left it very open to continue extending it again.
What do you think of this whole eviction ban and all that sort of stuff?
I think that it's terrible.
Yeah, I do.
Now, I think we mentioned this before. I can understand the argument of it's not fair in a pandemic to be kicking people out of their homes.
Yeah.
I do think that. I think that your home is a necessity, and I don't think we should kick people out of their homes. However, that being said, I don't think it's the landlords that should be paying for it.
I agree with
So
that.
I think if the government are going to protect people, what they should be saying is, look, if you are, do you know what they've done with B bills and C bills for companies? I think they should be doing the same thing. If you've lost your job and you're going to get kicked out of your house, apply for a grant and we will pay. If they're not going to pay it, who the frick?
Well, the landlord.
Who are the government to turn around and say you don't have to pay for that service? Can you imagine if they said to shops, oh, by the way, from now on, because of the pandemic, if you want to steal from shops, that's cool.
Yeah.
And the shop's just like, okay, let's just bend over and take that then. Why are landlords the only one? What, they don't do it for anything else, do they?
No,
they don't do it for anything else. If they're saying that people shouldn't have to pay, they should pick up the bill, not the landlords.
The problem I see is a lot of people are using that as they're using the fact that the government have stepped up and said you don't have to pay your rent as a reason just not to pay the rent. And I don't think there's anywhere near enough protection in place, or not even that, but even the checking to make sure
there is no checking.
It's just bullshit.
If the government were paying it, they'd be checking, wouldn't they?
Yeah, of course they will.
They'd be going, right, show me that you've lost your job.
Exactly.
Show me your savings account that you've got no money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing is, that's another thing. Very good point there. Savings account, got no money. A lot of people have got a lot of money, man. There's a lot of people have got savings, okay, but they don't want to use them because it's savings. But that's what savings are for, to use in a rainy day. But a lot of people are just, no, I don't want to go into my savings to pay my rent, even though it's a necessity, but I'll happily buy that PlayStation 5 that's just come out.
I think
it's just ridiculous.
I don't disagree with the rule.
No.
I just disagree with the fact that it's landlords.
I disagree with the implementation of it. I disagree with how they've implemented it. And I think there's too many people use it as well, I don't have to pay my rent. And do you know that there's Facebook groups set up by
of course
social justice warriors saying, here, now you don't have to pay your rent and here's how to get round it. It's bullshit loopholes, and again the sort of the landlords suffer here because they're not getting paid for a service remember this, not all landlords have hundreds of houses. Most landlords have between 2 and 3 houses, and most landlords are still working a job to cover their self. Now you've got toe rag tenants that are using loopholes to not pay their rent. So somebody's paying that rent, somebody's paying the mortgage, and it's the landlord who's a working guy, probably got 2 old lady, got 2 or 3 properties, worked their asses off to get them, and now some scumbag tenant has said, you know what, I'm not going to pay my rent because the government said I don't have to. And then you've got all these complete knobheads setting up Facebook groups and setting up groups, teaching them how to get round these loopholes.
Do you know what it reminds me of?
Bullshit.
It's like my wife was involved. Someone crashed into her.
PPR. I get it.
Right, and they're people are phoning her up all the time. Like, if you, I'm sure that you had whiplash and stuff. If you just fill in this form and you could get £10,000. She's like, but I didn't get whiplash.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, but if maybe a little bit. And she was like, so I'm not injured at all. The car was stationary. I wasn't even in it. What are you saying is you want me to lie in order to claim something? And they're like, oh, well, we're not saying that we want you. Totally, that is what they're saying. They're just not allowed to actually say it. And it's a societal problem, I think. A claim when you I'm getting letters at the moment because I bought brand new Mercedes-Benz. You bought a brand new Mercedes-Benz.
Oh, well, that Mercedes
They
diesel.
lied about
Yeah.
You could be due 10,000. I don't want to take the money that I paid because I didn't pay for the emission thing. I've got the car. They delivered what I wanted.
Yeah.
Why would I be trying to take £10,000 off them now?
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's just where there's a blame or where there's a so-called blame, there's a claim, isn't there? It's just the whole I'm entitled or I'm trying to get something for free or pull the wool over somebody's eyes, and it's just the society we live in, unfortunately, and it's fucked.
I saw on Martin Lewis money tips.
Yeah.
Right, one of his money tips was to share Netflix accounts.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Right, and you're thinking,
what a way to live, though. We've had this conversation many times about Martin Lewis, right? What a way to live, being such a penny pincher all your life.
but that's just stealing. To me, that's sharing a Netflix account. Now, you could argue the morality of it, but to actually be teaching people to steal, which is what you're doing, it's just because you're getting the service from Netflix. Why should you not pay for it?
Yeah.
The service is there. It's £10 a month or something. Guys,
So
if you want it, pay for it.
on that basis, does that mean you're going to stop logging into my Netflix?
I'm gonna have to. After this episode.
And my Amazon Prime, you're going to stop using that as
Amazon
well?
Prime, I'm gonna stop using.
Rick, can you stop logging in as well? You've been sharing my Amazon Prime now for weeks.
Only if you stop using my Tinder account.
Well, it's actually Grindr, but never mind. Anyway, on that bombshell,
I'm very interested to see what people think of that, though, because I personally think we've got a societal problem with people trying to acclaim society, a stealing society, where you can the fact Martin Lewis, who's can teach that, send that out on his emails, and not get a backlash, I think is
but it's because society love that, don't they? They love getting something for free.
Netflix, they're a big greedy corporation. Who cares about them?
It's the whole bashing a corporation, isn't it? Because they see somebody's doing better than them, so they want to.
Well, it pisses me off.
It does. It pees me off as well. It's a poor mindset. It's a broke mindset.
It is.
Do you know what I mean?
It is a broke mindset.
Yeah. Right. Now time for this.
Okay, so this is now the quiz. It's me versus Alistair. I am still winning 4-2, but you have won the last 2 weeks.
I have, yes. I have.
So I'm fingers crossed.
Let's go.
Everything that I'll keep the lead. Well, I'm definitely going to keep the lead because I'm so far ahead. But let's hope that Have you guys? I know that you normally sort of go through the questions in the car and together and stuff. Have you done that this week? Or
Not this week. Only the last 4 weeks.
Only last 2 weeks. 4 weeks.
The first 2 weeks I got the wrong answers, even though you told me them.
In the red corner, we have the one and only Mr. Russell Leeds. And in the blue corner, we have Alistair Cunningham.
I love how he makes that joke. He finds it funny.
I find it funny every week.
Alright, come on, let's go.
Question number 1. Now, you have to listen carefully.
Is this the closest to?
Right,
Yes.
I need to give Russell a bit of paper.
Listen
and a pen,
very carefully. Okay? Listen very carefully.
Go on.
We just finished a 2-day event called the Bar Refurbished Finance Rent Masterclass.
What, the one that Alistair was at the whole chairs and I wasn't? Yeah, this sounds fair. Yeah.
Ricky,
Throw me
just
a pen.
throw him that pen, man. It's by the computer.
Yeah.
Okay, we just finished the event by Refurbished Finance Masterclass. Throughout the event, Alistair used the flip chart to write down various house prices, refurbs, costings, done-up values, etc. What is the total monetary value when all of these figures were added up? So he used the flip chart.
Oh, hold on. What's the question?
Okay, throughout the event, Alistair used flip chart to write down various house prices, costings, refurbs, done-up values over the 2 days. What is the total monetary value when all of them values you wrote down added up?
You were adding them all up as I was
When you
speaking.
ripped off the paper at the end of the course, I stayed behind and I added all up the amounts of money that you wrote down over the 2 days.
But, so hold on. So the figures that he wrote down, he kind of got a rough idea of what they were. That's the question that I don't have a clue because I wasn't here.
Yeah, but you're going to have more of a clue than him because he's not going to remember.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but he'll know if he did it. Like he'll know if he wrote down Ribsford, for example, and he'd be like, okay, well that was. I don't have a clue what he wrote down.
It's
That's
just.
a very good question.
Of course you do.
But I have no idea. So let's add up all the numbers that I wrote down with regards to refurbs examples. So if I tell you, he's fuming. I think it's a great question.
You're welcome.
I'll tell you the examples I used. Bedford.
No, but this is where it's going to get hard for you as well, Alistair, because I'm talking about every single monetary value you wrote down on a piece of paper.
We're just literally.
So if you went
We're just guessing.
If you went, and this insurance is roughly £10,
Right,
I've added in the
fine,
£10.
Fine. All right, we just need to put a big number down and guess, innit? And whoever's closest. I'll be very surprised to know what it is. Okay, so I'm going to go...
Russell's fuming.
I'm fuming. I'm tempted not to write anything.
Go on then. I've got a number.
Alright, we'll go to Alistair first.
No.
Because Russell's probably just going to go one below him or something.
Definitely with my technique. It gives
Oh.
me a 50-50 chance then, doesn't it?
That's actually, yeah. Russell goes first. I went first last time, so it's Russell's turn to go first.
I thought we had to both write it down. I don't know. Fucking hell.
Do you know, he told me on the way up here, he goes, I've got an absolute blinder of a question. It turns out it was that.
This is going to be a
really-
hard... This week is hard questions this week.
Okay, go on. I put down 3.6 million.
Okay.
I went at 1.5.
7.6 million.
Was it really?
Yeah. Think about all the numbers you write down over the
Think about
two
the numbers
days.
that you wrote. You remember when you wrote them down? Ridiculous.
That's one to me.
Okay, next question. Now, question is, how many listed buildings are there in England? Now, when you actually look online, because it changes, there isn't an exact figure. However, there is an estimated figure. So, what is that estimated figure?
Estimated listed buildings in
In England,
Oh,
not the
England,
UK. In England.
right. You should know this because you're doing lots of work, research and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, when I try to do a bit of research on a listed building, do you know what I don't think? I wonder how many of these are in the UK?
Oh, Russell's getting a little bit angst at the minute because he knows he's going to lose.
Maybe we should make it easier for Russell.
No.
Let's change the question. What is a HMO?
He gets that. Right, number 2. How many listed buildings?
How many listed buildings are there in England? And just for the viewers, this isn't an exact figure. This is an estimated figure based on Google.
Okay, go on.
Okay, who went first last time?
I think you should tell us the answer and then we should reveal it. And
Yeah.
then we should
Okay,
first.
so the estimated amount in England is 400,000.
Oh, that's way off 200,000.
I put 100. No, you didn't. You put 20. Look at you just added a 0. You put 20,000. I put 111,000.
So who got that one?
Me.
Alright, okay, next question, last question. Following on from the last question,
Yeah.
what percentage of these listed buildings are grade 1?
Okay.
What percentage of the listed buildings are grade 1?
I put 28%.
28?
Jeez.
No way. It's going to be way less than that.
Go on, Russ.
Okay.
I put 2%.
Oh, 2.5%, yeah?
I think I actually put 2.8. There's definitely a
He
point
was so
in there.
close.
Is it really?
2.5% of grade 1.
Hardly any of them are grade 1.
Oh, okay. Fair
Even Ribsford is grade 2 star.
Yeah. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Well done, Ross.
I think Russell should take the winnings for the whole thing because that was a very close answer.
Well, it's not about what you think, it's about what the score says. Numbers don't lie, and I'm currently winning.
Hold on, he's quick faster.
Yeah. A minute ago you said it was shit.
Yeah, he was a minute ago.
Right, it's 2-1. So what, we got any more questions this week?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, let's go 3 more. Let's
Go on
have
then,
fun
go
with
on
this.
then.
3 more.
Go
Go on then.
What is the average rent for a 2-bedroom house in Bournemouth?
Oh, I don't know, Bournemouth at all.
What is the average rent for a 2-bedroom house in Bournemouth?
Okay.
Hold on, I haven't written it yet. Actually, that's probably a better idea. Go on. 2-bedroom.
Okay.
What, do you want me to say the answer first? Go on, what's your answers?
I've said 900.
I said 850.
Oh, Alistair's taking it. It's £1,103.
It's expensive down there, man.
I've got 2 more questions.
Go
These
on.
are good ones.
Go on.
How many square foot is the palace of Westminster? How many square foot is the palace of Westminster?
Which means Westminster.
Westminster Abbey, Westminster. Okay, fine. Westminster, right? Fine.
The palace of
Have you heard of the Palace of Westminster?
Westminster Palace, yeah.
Yeah, Westminster Palace.
Yeah, but
Westminster Abbey.
I was asking you because okay.
All right,
I'm going to guess it's a lot smaller than Buckingham Palace.
guess it and you'll find out. Russell's
Okay.
gonna put like 20,000.
I'm not. I'm going to go a lot bigger than that this time.
Okay, go on, Russell, you go first.
I put 200,000.
I put 451,000.
It's actually 1.2 million.
Oh wow, that's bigger than
Yep.
Buckingham Palace.
Bigger than Buckingham Palace.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting. So
Oh.
currently, do you know what's even more interesting? It's currently I'm leading 4-1, and that means you cannot win. But let's have the final.
Okay, final question. Really good one. Really good
I
one.
don't care.
From which date did tenancy agreements become assured short hold tenancy agreements?
Yeah, I've got that easy.
What,
You know
really?
Yeah,
But I thought that was going to be a hard question.
easy.
The exact date?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a hard question.
Do you actually know the
Very
exact
easy,
date?
Yeah.
The exact date?
I've written it down.
I'd laugh if you're wrong. I'm going to increase if you're wrong.
The reality is I don't care and I don't give a monkeys and I have no idea. But I'm just saying that to wind them up. Okay, so what is the exact date?
The exact date is the 15th of January 1989.
Oh, I put the 1st of January.
I put 1991.
Yeah, so it's 4-2. Oh, and that's what it is on a weekly basis. It's now 4-3. So that means I'm catching you up.
Do you know what though? You got the stupid questions.
Well,
I got the questions like that. You got the stupid questions like.
don't be a sore loser.
How many words you wrote down?
Listen.
What do you ask me next? What do you ask me next time? The added up date of birth of Russell's kids. What do you ask that?
Don't be nobody likes a sore loser. All right. Be gracious in defeat.
It's the taking part that counts.
It's the taking part that counts.
So,
Oh,
congratulations to you both for taking part. But Alistair won! Give it
Oh, okay. It is now time for your questions and answers from us this week. If you don't follow us, you should be Alistair _Cunningham, Ricky Mando, Russell Leeds, alright? Make sure you follow us on Instagram. And we do an Instagram live asking for your questions and we ask for you to send them in DM. So we've got a few questions this week. Ricky's going to be the question master again. So Ricky, fire away.
Okay, first question is from Jan, and Jan says, how easy is it to get planning permission for a HMO in an Article 4 area? Is
Very
it worth
difficult.
applying?
No.
It is worth applying, absolutely. It is difficult.
Would you even buy? Okay, listen. I suppose it depends. If you own a property already,
Yeah.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
If you don't own a property, I wouldn't even look in an Article 4 area.
I agree with you. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Right. Situation I've got at the minute, I'm buying a 6-bed property which has got pre-app approval for a 6-bed HMO to be built next door in an Article 4 area. So it is possible. It's just not. I wouldn't be actively looking to buy to then convert. Okay, because
It's like looking for land in a greenbelt area.
yeah, it's going to be a lot harder for you. So I tend to wouldn't not do that. Okay, if you've got something that's got historical planning there, but it's been declined, why is it being declined? And then I would go through pre-app, or I would certainly be asking the questions and how you could get it approved before you commit financially. So I hope that helps.
Next question is from Jamie, and Jamie says he's looking at buy, refurb, refinance, rent. He has a pot of money saved up to invest on refurb projects. Should he use the cash he's got to buy properties with cash, or use bridging finance and not use his own money?
It all depends how much money you've got. If you've got enough money in the bank to buy the property and do all the work and do all the refurb and still leave you something there to live and to eat and all that sort of stuff, then absolutely do it that way, because it's the best way to buy, refurb, refinance. And then once the refurb's been done, get the mortgage, get your money back. It's going to be the cheapest way for you because you're not going to have incurred interest costs, charges, setup fees, arrangement fees, all that sort of stuff, and you're going to get more profit at the end of it. However, if it's going to leave you a little bit short, why don't you buy the property, using bridging finance, and then use your buy the property using your money, and then use development finance, which will be slightly cheaper, to do the refurb, and that way you don't have to put the refurb money into it. But it all depends on your exact situation, the property purchase price, how much cash you've got, and whether or not you mind paying that additional interest and additional costs to set up the bridge.
Here's a question for you then. Let's say because I personally, although I do agree with your advice, I think I personally would always use finance for it. Because let's say, it doesn't matter how much money I had, but let's say I had, I don't know how much money might you have, 200k?
Yeah.
Let's say I had 200k, I think I'd rather just do a bigger deal and put my 200k for that.
That's it. Yeah, again, it depends. It comes back to your risk appetite as well, I think. If you want to go for a bigger deal, go for a bigger deal. But it depends on what you're starting. If you're saying you've got 50 grand, it's a very different answer to I've got 50 grand to the question of I've got 500 grand. Very different story. But I would always try to leverage. But again, it depends on your risk appetite. If you like a nice safe investment, do one deal at a time, buy the deal, pay cash, refinance, then do the next deal.
But not just risk appetite, also your experience. You made a point earlier about how start off with the small stuff and move up to the bigger stuff. So I wouldn't go into, if I had £1 million in the bank, but I never done any property investing before, I wouldn't go, right, let's go to a development. You'd start small and work your way up. So it's a tricky one. You need a bit of bespoke advice. Do you know what you need? You need a Samuel 365 mentor to sit down with you for 15 minutes and talk you through it for a question like that, I would say, because it's very subjective to you. Okay, next question.
Okay, next question is from Samantha, and Samantha says, I have £20,000 in my savings that I've saved up over the last 10 years. I want to invest it but have no property knowledge or experience. Which strategy should I use and how should I get started?
I wouldn't do anything yet. I'd get on the crash course. We're doing a crash course on this Saturday.
This coming Saturday.
Get to the crash course this Saturday. It's £1. There's no-show fees. It's just £1. That's it. You can do it virtually from your own home. You've got Al there. You've got Rick there. Samuel's going to be there teaching you through the whole day. It'll give you a really good grounding and idea and understanding of where to get started. 20k, probably realistically all you could afford anyway is just a small buy-to-let at this stage.
20k is a great amount of money that you've got in the bank, so well done for saving that up. Second thing is you could very quickly lose that if you're not educated. It could go very far for you, or it could go very, very short for you, so to speak. You could blow it very quickly, or it could last forever, and it could recycle it, and you could leverage it, and you can actually maximise that if you get educated. I would get educated, no question.
Cool. Yeah. Get on the crash course this Saturday. We'll see you there.
Guys, on that bombshell, was that the final question, Rick?
There's just one more.
Go on.
One more. This one's from Tom, and Tom says, roughly how much is it for solicitor fees when doing a lease option agreement, and should I pay for both parties?
Okay, well, I'm doing one at the minute, and the solicitor fees are £850 plus VAT for for each party, so that's each, okay? And yes, I would recommend using a solicitor at all times for lease option agreements, and yes, I would recommend private individual representation for both parties, and if I were you, I would be paying them purely because it helps you sell the idea of a lease option to the vendor. Okay, on that bombshell, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've loved it. Remember, let us know what's your favourite coffee. Is it Starbucks? Is it Costa? Is it Pret? Or is it Cafe Nero? Also, how did you get on in the quiz? And are you enjoying the quiz? Or if you are, give us a thumbs up, drop us a comment below, let us know, share, like, love, review. Guys, if you're enjoying it, also, jump on to Trustpilot and leave us a review on Trustpilot. You're tuning in to the Property Investors podcast every week. So they can jump on to Property Investors with Samuel Leeds. It's all part of the same brand. And leave us a review. Tell us, what do you like best? Is it me or is it Russell? Or is it even Ricky, because he's now involved?
It probably will be me.
I doubt it, but okay.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt that. On that bombshell, guys.
Main stars, isn't it?
Yeah. So just make sure you name us, all right, guys. Guys, have an amazing week. We shall see you next week. Make sure you're tuning in. Make sure you're getting subscribed. Guys, peace out. Much love. See you next time.